Good afternoon, everybody, or almost early evening. Welcome to the Sideline Junkies and Drive Time with Matty Ice. And of course, I am honored as always when I can have some special guests with me. And since we got another round of the playoffs to break down, I have with me, of course, the one and only Scooter Yvette and Duval Paul. How you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Excellent,
Excellent.
Matty Ice. Excellent.
Yeah,
I'm just
excellent.
I just noticed that he's not at the bar. I don't even know where he is right now.
Yeah, he's at a different spot now in the casino. So they gave him
Yeah,
like his
I'm
own.
at I'm
Go
at
ahead.
Delaware Park in world greatest Newark, Delaware here, and
Hmm.
you can see right behind me. They're getting the season started here. So
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's like now you got your own special suite. I tell you, it's awesome.
I know it's great.
Different spots when Scott's with us. You never know where he's going to be. So, of course, I always
In
start off with
San
what I'm
Diego over
wearing.
here.
And today's kind of a sad one. I don't normally wear a jersey of a team that just got eliminated, but I felt like I had to come out and bust out the Winnipeg Jets jersey with the effort that Mark Shifley put into that game 6 with his dad passing just in the morning of that game. We'll go into more details of that game when we get to the till we get to that spot. But for him, for Mark, and for the hockey fans out there that did an incredible job, I think saw something like they raised over $3 million by people donating his jersey number 55 to his charity just in the day of the game alone.
Wow.
Hockey players, hockey fans are just, whenever something like this happens, it just always amazes me how quickly the hockey community comes out. So in honor of that, I felt like I should wear his jersey.
That's a class act. Class act all around.
And Paul, looks like I see you're wearing some Florida Panthers gear, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I had to debut my 2024 Stanley Cup championship gear because it was the first. I'm hoping that this rubs off into my NFL fandom, but we'll take it one day at a time.
Nothing wrong with that. And speaking of Scooter there, I think I'm liking the jersey that you got on today.
Well, just to tell you, to paraphrase as a Hartford, well, as how should I say, as a Washington Capitals fan, to paraphrase Bill Belichick, we're on the baseball.
That's right. And I always like that Nats jersey. I think the DC logo is always a sharp one. But I do
It's
like the
pretty
new ones
awesome.
too.
Yeah.
The City Connect ones, those are pretty sharp. I like those ones. I got the hat when I was there
Oh,
the
nice.
last time. I like the new hat too. So, all right, enough of that. Let's get into some stuff here. Let's go with some baseball news first. We'll start with the news that kind of broke early last week, but after we were off the air, so I definitely want to touch on it for sure. Baseball finally reinstates Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson and other deceased players that were permanently on the ineligible list. I like the wording that good old Rob came out with. He said something along the lines of that they can no longer be a problem since they're dead, of course. So now he finally lets them back in. I know a lot of talk about when Pete Rose could get in. He'd have to be elected by the Classic Baseball Era Committee. They don't actually meet again until December of 2027, and he has to get 12 of the 16 votes of whoever's on that committee to actually get in. Guys, what's your thoughts on Pete and Shoeless Joe finally at least being eligible for the Hall of Fame?
Paul, I'll take it from here. I think that's fine if that's what they want to do. That's great. Obviously, for a person like Shoeless Joe, that's a little longer than Pete, but they both are, and the rest of the Black Sox. I mean, they all did their gambling, and they all they broke the rules, and some of the rules were even instigated after by Judge Landis. But uh, if they want to do that, that's fine. And, let's do it. Get them in.
None of the other Black Sox, as far as I know, were eligible.
Right.
I mean, so it was really all about Shoeless Joe, and there's the argument that he didn't tank like the rest of the players. Pete Rose, as far as I know, love him or hate him, or in between. As far as I know, he only bet on his team. He never bet against his team, correct?
Correct.
If you want to, blur the lines, first off, where do you stop? Because then you've got a long line of other people who did other things, whether it's, being completely busted in the everybody knew you were juicing era or, other things. But I mean, it is what it is. My biggest problem, if we're really being honest, is the Baseball Hall of Fame itself. I don't like the way that they put people in. I mean, wasn't there a year they didn't put anybody in because they couldn't figure it out? It's like,
Yes.
what's your deal, dude? Do you want people to come to Cooperstown? Because there's really not like so much else in Cooperstown. You know, if you're going to make it a destination, you should have a process that's like, I've got problems with the Football Hall of Fame because there's so many great players. The Baseball Hall of Fame is like, it's like a bunch of yentas that like don't want to, you know, give the blessing to the daughter that, you know, so and so wants to introduce to the son. It's like, it's just, it's horrible. I'm just not a fan of the voting process. Whether or not these guys get in, I think that, you know, that's a whole other story. But I'm telling you, you're going to have a whole bunch of other players that, you know, juice that, you know, broke all these records. And it's like, then what is the Hall of Fame even? I think that this has been I think the Hall of Fame in baseball has been a mess for a while.
I don't disagree with that side of it too. It's like you got the two opposites. You got baseball where barely sometimes they get anyone through. Then you got football where you have 1,800 guys that seem to go through in every class, you know, to water down the football side of it. But I'll say this for Pete. I think, you know, because you had to think too, back then when he was betting with bookies. So, you know, when he didn't bet on the Reds, what did that tell the bookies? Right. So any game that he didn't bet on him, is he basically telling the bookies, hey, we're not winning tonight, you know? So I think that part is part of the problem. But of course, then as soon as baseball got into bed with all these betting companies, you know, it's kind of hard to hold your thumb up on this issue.
Right.
I think he should have been in a while back. I still think Bonds and all these guys should be in too. If you want to put him in a separate wing of the hall with a big asterisk that says these guys all were on, these guys were all on stuff that was legal at the time, then do that. But I still think Barry Bonds should be in. But you know, that's a whole nother subject.
Once upon a time, I didn't think we'd ever have a major sports franchise in Las Vegas. Now we've got two.
Right.
Successful.
A third coming.
Two. Well, maybe a third coming. Who knows what the hell the A's are ever. They keep saying they're going to Vegas, but until they actually
put
break
MC Hammer
ground.
back in charge in Oakland.
So Paul, I do want to tell you that while I've never been to Cooperstown, I do know that they have something more than the Hall of Fame. They have Omegon Brewery.
Yeah, I'm familiar. It's not
familiar, yeah. So people go there for something.
It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite microbrew. If you're being
it's cool. It's cool, but there is something about Shoeless Joe Jackson that if you've ever seen the movie 8 Men Out, it's a really good movie. Based upon the book John Saylor. But there's one of the guy who wrote the book, John Sayles. He's actually a character that plays writer, and he's in there with the actual writer named Studs Terkel. But they both are representing two actual people that did exist. And one of them was, I believe, Christy Mathewson, the great Hall of Fame pitcher, who, and another journalist, they got the word that something's not right with the White Sox. And they jotted down every item that they thought that they may have been fluking. And they did notice that several times in several games that Shoeless Joe Jackson wouldn't run out to catch a ball he would normally get. He'd let it fall in front of him. Or he wouldn't hustle to get to another, or he would throw to the wrong cutoff guy, that he would never make those mistakes. So those things were documented. Thing about Shoeless Joe Jackson was he didn't know how not to hit. He couldn't not hit. He was such a great hitter. He couldn't fake it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's like, I think there's very few people that are like dying on this hill. And, and
I'm not dying on that hill.
Agree. All right. Other baseball news: the O's fired their manager Brandon Hyde over the weekend. Didn't help them out with the series against the Nats. At the time when he was fired, he was 15-29. I think he's the guy that's getting the blame for a lot of bad offseason decisions that the O's have made. They don't have a healthy pitching staff. There's just a lot of stuff wrong with that franchise right now where they're at. And so was the manager of the year in 2023. Did, the O's kind of fell off a little bit towards the end, didn't have a good playoff. And of course, it's led right into the slow start this year. Third base coach Tony Mansolino is going to be the interim manager. So Brandon's now the third manager already fired in this young baseball season. I think, I don't know. I guess I kind of get it when this team is struggling that they probably shouldn't be 15-29, but at the same time, it kind of seems like they're blaming him for the decisions that the front office made of not bringing guys back like Santander and the pitchers that they let go.
Yeah, he's a scapegoat for GM moves. Maybe they get a spark. Maybe some guys elevate their game, but you know what? My guess is he'll go somewhere else and probably have a better outcomes with a better situation.
I couldn't agree with you guys more. Totally right. I mean, they were 12-28 when he was fired, and what are they? 3-1 since. But I mean, that's just the spark. Hyde's been, what was he? 421 in 492 career, but it is the Orioles, so you're probably going to have that kind of winning percentage. And he had a good season in there. The general manager is Mike Elias, who's an Alexandria, Virginia native, and strangely enough, he is a former NASA employee. He's actually a technical engineer. So he should be responsible for what you guys are saying. Like, I mean, they signed the wrong guys. They didn't re-sign the guys they should have signed, and then they got a guy so he should actually get fired. He should be the one. He's responsible. And if he does get fired, so I bet he may at some point this season. Their assistant general manager is Sig Meidel, and he's the former NASA guy, my bad. But they're both from Houston. They were with the Houston Astros for like 10 years, and they brought that to the Orioles from that success in Houston. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Sarah asked if Gunner's having a slow start. I mean, the average wise, yes, he's batting 258, but he does have 7 home runs, 13 RBIs. I just don't know that there's a lot of guys getting on in front of him to help him out either. I don't know he's really having the RBI chances to bring guys in like he did last year either.
Yep.
All right, so that takes care of some baseball news. There was a lot of fun stuff this weekend. The Preakness was just crazy. That was a crazy ending. Journalism, who was even money, so it wasn't much. You know, if you're betting, man, he didn't win you. He didn't win you a lot of money. But he just wins a crazy race where he gets, you know, he's kind of pinned in, and then he kind of gets bumped, and looks like there's no way he's going to have enough time to catch up. And then sure enough, he catches up Gosker and with these 3 amazing strides at the end and beats him by, I think it's like almost by a head by the time it was all said and done. Just a crazy finish to that.
Yeah, that was, sorry, go Paul.
No, go ahead. It's horses, man. I'm not going to learn much for this, dude.
Understood. We only watched this stuff.
I'm trying to remember that movie where there was a zebra that was a racehorse at this point. I don't know.
Dude, they're doing that here at the track on July 4th. I'm going to miss it. No, seriously, with camels too. But journalism, he was the favorite. He was the favorite going into the Kentucky Derby, so he lost the Sovereign there in the Kentucky Derby. So journalism goes and wins the Preakness, which Sovereignty wasn't running because they want Sovereignty to win the Belmont Stakes. So it's interesting how that all worked out. So this battle, you know, the next one in Belmont should be very interesting. Here's another interesting tidbit. So they're totally tearing down Pimlico, and they're putting up a brand new Pimlico. So next year, it's not going to be held there. It's going to be held in PG County at Laurel Park. So to my PG County guys, there you go. It's awesome. You're going to get the Preakness
for 1 year.
For 1 year.
Russ Parr going to be like, you know, live streaming?
Russ Parr and Donnie Simpson would go crazy.
And my question is does horse racing, because I think this stat might be a little bit off. It's either the third time in 7 years, third time in 5 years now, where the horse that's won the Kentucky Derby has just said thanks but no thanks for the Preakness, basically eliminating any hope of a Triple Crown. Is that a bad thing for horse racing? Because I think you kind of need the horse that wins the Kentucky Derby to go to the Preakness just to keep.
Yeah, unless they're injured.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see the colt. You know, I don't want to see the horse become glue because they had a race in it. You know, but at the same time, I think whoever wins the Kentucky Derby almost needs to. They need to mandate that you're going to go.
If we're being honest, it's not like, you know. Yes, the horse is athletic, but it's not the horse's mind. It's
true.
It's the horse is just getting whipped and told which direction to go.
All right. Sarah's giving me some comments on my jersey and hat don't match color wise. Yes, I'm aware, but I still had to wear my Carolina Hurricanes, and this is for Mark. So so we can deal with not having the correct color combinations for today. All right. Real quick, we'll hit to some golf. The PJ Championship came up. Scotty wins the PJ Championship, finishing 11 under par. It was kind of weird because I didn't get to see that much of it yesterday, but I knew he had a 3-shot lead going into it. Then I looked at like 9, he was tied. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And then I looked again later, and he's got like a 4-shot lead again. It seemed like it was a weird finish to this thing. Did any of you guys get to catch it?
Yeah.
Well, then you comment on it, Scott, because you caught it, so you can.
Yeah. So yeah, that's everything you write down is totally accurate on that. And so John Rahm blew it because on 17 and 18 he put it in the water on each one of those holes.
Yeah, I saw that he.
So you're not winning doing that.
And this was an interesting stat that I saw today. So Scotty is now just the 3rd player to win 15 PGA Tour events and 3 majors before the age of 29.
Wow, yeah, he's a great player.
Do we know who the other 2 were?
Tiger?
Tiger's one of them.
Yeah, Tiger and Jack.
And Jack, yep, Tiger and Jack are the only.
That makes sense.
So when you're joining a list that includes Tiger and Jack, that says something to me.
I mean, he's already on his way to the Hall of Fame. Now, here's an interesting thing with the whole PGA versus Live golf thing is that 16 players who finished 8th or better, only 3 of them were Live golfers, and Rahm is the best, or Bryson DeChambeau was the best of them.
Right.
But it was interesting that then again, of course, the PGA is going to have a lot of their own players in it, so they're going to be the majority of it. But they're 2 that, like, if people don't know the Live tournament, they only do 3 rounds as opposed to 4. And then they're playing rap music and they're playing all hip hop music while the golfing's going on, which is really cool. But PGA is like 4 rounds. That it's different. It's like in major tennis, it's 5 for men, 3 for women. So there's a difference.
Yep. Agreed.
I don't watch Live for personal reasons.
That's okay.
Yeah, I never got really. I mean, it's been hard for me getting to golf without Tiger, to be honest with you. Every now and then, at the Masters, I watched the last little few holes because that was kind of interesting. So, and this one, I just was traveling, so didn't get a chance to see any of it this time.
Yeah, Live is also a team thing. So they have teams. They have individual winners, but they have team. So it's a little interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate any attempt to make something different. So, let's see here. Moving on, the WNBA Open this weekend. I'm not going to do a lot on the scores, but of course, the big matchup was Indiana and Chicago. Is the WNBA is neat. The guys talked about this yesterday between Angela Reese and Caitlin Clark, and was it a technical foul? Wasn't it a technical foul? Was it just a hard foul that came up from that one? The bottom line is they want that to be a rivalry. I think they probably need it to be a rivalry because look, the one thing that the WNBA, to borrow a great line from Shorzy, they're putting butts in seats, so and that's what matters most is getting butts in seats, and they're definitely doing that. A couple other big scores. I thought the Liberty defeating the Las Vegas Aces, which is I think a lot of the quote unquote experts think those 2 will be towards the top, and then of course the Washington Mystics, who had, I think, what they end up with like 17 of the first 8 picks in the first round this year. They had a crazy amount of top picks, and they won 90-85 for their first win of the year. So WNBA started up this weekend, but that was definitely the big talk from there was, of course, Caitlin against Angela, which Caitlin won on the court, at least.
Angel?
Sure. Yeah, Angel. I'm sorry, what did I say? I don't know what Angela? I said. Did I say Angel? Oops, my bad.
I meant Angel. Of the woman's name.
I know. I meant to say that. It just didn't come out.
I was telling the Midnight Rider on a post of his the other day that if this were hockey, Caitlin Clark got a 2-minute minor, and Reese got a 2-minute embellishment because it wasn't even a technical foul. She fouled her, sure. So, and then Reese went back like she's LeBron James with her arms flailing in the air and falls down and then gets up and tries to start a fight. So it was interesting. But good for the WNBA. They need that Detroit Piston, Boston Celtic type spark.
I hate to say that, like, for a lot of people, that it's already been kind of precast, this like good versus evil type of thing between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, because Angel Reese just trying to like live her life, play her game, do her thing, and like everybody's shoving these cameras in her face, like, you're not Caitlin Clark, and she's like, I'm just trying to do me.
Yep.
It's like, let people have a career.
It's totally Magic Larry. It's totally just women.
Like if she, like, it's one thing if she was putting herself out there in a certain type of way and she's inviting certain types of reactions. I don't think she is. That's just me.
They're also probably the two best players in all of WNBA.
Vic says they need to throw
which is great.
Vic's going pure on hockey mode, that they just need to throw hands. Now that would get some ratings. You imagine if that happens.
It would, but for all the wrong reasons. It's supposed to be like it's supposed to be. We don't need meta world peace in the WNBA.
I really want to see the WNBA do well. I think it needs to do well, and I hope that they can, at least attendance wise, it's heading in the right direction for sure. So that's good to see. While we're talking about the round ball here, let's go ahead here and bring up the Eastern Conference is set. You've got Indiana against New York. So I got listed there for everyone to see when the games are. All these games are on TNT, which is, of course, TNT's last year, which I think most people are upset about. My Cleveland Cavaliers just completely blew it against the Indiana Pacers. It's like they don't know how to defend the three. They just got completely outplayed the entire series. The New York Knicks shocked, I think, everybody by beating the Celtics. And so here we are. Is anyone buying Nick Mania at all?
As you may know, I know very little about basketball. The things I know about basketball, I get from the periphery. So when I saw this matchup, my mind immediately went to like Reggie Miller and Patrick Ewing, and like the fact that one of these two teams is going to be the representative just kind of gets me excited. I'm for no other reason than I'm just giving it up to the spirit of guys like Allen Houston from yesteryear. I'm just going to ride with KG's boys and say, let's go for the Knicks, because the Knicks have been, they've been close for so long. They've been close. I mean, not that Indiana has been,
right.
But given a choice, I'm gonna go with New York over Indiana.
Boy, I'll tell you, all the people around here, I got a lot of Knick friends, and boy, they're ecstatic. They can't believe what's going on out there. So I'm happy for them, of course. And there's a lot of people in the northern Delaware area wearing Knicks jerseys, which I'm surprised they haven't gotten beaten up yet by Sixer fans. But that's probably coming sooner or later. But if you ask me, I got Chuck Person over Charles Oakley. So that's my deal.
It's kind of weird. Like, I don't have the hatred for Knicks fans like I do Yankees fans and Ranger fans. Like, those two fan bases, I can't stand them. But
They're the same people.
I know they are, but for some reason I don't hate the Knicks. Like, I don't know why that is. They just they don't.
I mean, they're lovable losers.
Yeah, maybe so, and maybe being a Guards fan, we share that common bond or something. I don't know, so I don't have the hatred for them. So, and I know KG likes them. So for his sake, if I don't have a dog in the fight and somebody's on the show has a team in it, then I'll root for their team. So I agree. I kind of hope New York wins, but for some reason I really like the way Indiana plays, and if Indiana keeps hitting those threes, then look out, because that's going to make them tough to beat.
So there it is, folks. Guaranteed, Indiana sweeps New York.
Yeah. And I forgot to change the teams on this banner here, so I'm going to see if I can do this here real quick. I probably can or can't, but the Western Conference is actually Minnesota against OKC, not Indiana, New York Part 2. So we have Minnesota against OKC. Guys, what do you guys think on this one?
Again, I know very little about basketball. I will say I saw two articles today separately that just kind of came up in my feed about Steph Curry looking very sad. And that was about it. So given that information and given that the state really had a good run last year in the NFL, I'm going to go with Minnesota for no reason other than I would probably enjoy myself more in Minnesota than Oklahoma City.
Yeah, if this were 1985 and you said Minnesota was playing Oklahoma City, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? But in this case, I do know a little bit is that Minnesota kind of breezed through their series, and Oklahoma State had a tough ride. So I'm just going to go with Minnesota on this, just because they got some really great players too on their team. So
I do have to give a shout out to Dylan, who did my NBA preview when we started this thing, and he took Minnesota, to win it all. And I know it got a few smirks from some people, and yet here they are now in the Western Conference Final.
That's still Giannis, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't pronounce his last name.
The
Empty Temple.
That's the guy.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so I root for him because he picked Minnesota to go all this way. I think he had OKC losing though to Denver, but that went 7 games. That could have been anyway. That game 7 last night. OKC, Denver got off a little bit to a quick start, and then OKC kind of took over, and then it kind of seemed like it never really got close again anyway. So, but for Dylan's sake, since he picked Minnesota to win it all, and it'd be fun to have somebody that was on my show who predicted the actual winner of it, then I'll go for Minnesota for his sake. So.
It is.
There we go. All right. So now it's time to get to what we all love. It's time to like this here, like my little drive to the net logo. Isn't it? How about that, huh? Got that's high edge graphics right there that I found for sure.
What is that? NHLPA 94?
It might be. I don't know what it's from, but I just saw it and I'm like, okay, I'm using that one. Anyway, so we'll start off with the ladies since we've been doing our stuff. The PWHL finals are set. Ottawa is going to be hosting the defending champ Minnesota Frost. Ottawa defeated Montreal 3-1 in their series, and Minnesota won their series 3-1. The Ottawa-Montreal series was all about goaltending. Manon McMahon and the goalie for let's see here. No, McMahon scored the goal. It was Phillips was in goal for Ottawa and Desmond's was in goal for Montreal. These guys split like 2 different 2-1 games. The goaltending in that series was just phenomenal. But Ottawa won it. The defending champs Minnesota won a little bit more on the offensive side. They did win game 4 in overtime by a score of 4-3. Taylor Heiss scores the winning goal with 4 minutes left in the first overtime. So this series now kicks off with the first 2 games that are going to be in Ottawa, and then they switch over for games 3 and 4 next Saturday, and then next Monday would be game 4. So we'll see where we're at with that. Any thought on the ladies hockey at all, guys?
I hope Ottawa wins, just because I feel bad the Sens got knocked out.
For the Sens' sake.
Well, I hope it goes. How many games do they do? They
5.
do 5 games?
5.
Yep.
Best of
Hope
5.
they go 5 games, overtime every game.
The cool part is the Minnesota's been playing where the Wild play, and they've sold out every game. So that's awesome. Minnesota hockey, of course, is just crazy. And I know Montreal played in the Bell Center for a couple of their games, and I think they sold out they only did the bottom section, but they sold out all of that. So it was there. Oh, hey, look who's joining us. Let's see here if she's got any hockey thoughts for that here. What's up, Showtime, Sarah?
Hello.
Howdy. Have you seen any of the PWHA stuff, Sarah?
I knew that Ottawa beat Montreal because me and my friend were talking about it, and my friend really wanted to see Montreal get into the final, but I haven't really been that big into it more so than that. I just know who's playing.
I know you can catch them on YouTube TV. I think is where, if you want to watch, if you want to see these games, or it's where the finals will be shown at, is on good old YouTube TV. So you can check that out there.
Do they allow fighting in PWH?
Nope. They don't allow fighting there. You get the 5. Technically you can fight still. It's just a 5-minute, and you're automatically, it's the game is conduct with it. The one rule that they have in the PWHL that I really would love to see them give a shot in the NHL is, if a team is shorthanded and the shorthanded team scores a goal, the power play is over. Like that, it ends the power play. I would love to see the NHL tinker with that, where not only if you score the shorthanded goal do you get the reward of the goal, but then you also the power play is done. Like I don't know. Something about that rule I like.
That would, I'm sure you would, but that would make a lot of people very unhappy.
Yeah,
especially in Vegas, I think. Don't ask me why.
Well, probably you got all the different power play bets and everything else, so who knows what would happen there. So, all right, let's go to the World Hockey Championships. where the story of this tournament so far has been Sweden and Canada. The way they're doing it is similar to the Four Nations tournament. You get 3 points if you win in regulation, 2 points for the overtime win or shootout win, 1 point for the overtime loss, and then 0 points if you lose in regulation. So far, remember, they're doing this round robin, so they're playing 7 games total before we get to the medal round. The top 4 teams in each will make it to the medal round. So the medal spots, the top 3 teams are pretty much known in both groups. But Group A, it's Sweden and Canada. They've yet to lose in regulation. They play for the very last game, which I think is coming up on Wednesday. But Sweden has given up 3 goals in 6 games. It's just crazy. They're not even giving up a goal a game. It's been their 2 goalies are on here. I lost my stats there for where's he at there? There they are. Oh, where's he at? Jacob Markstrom, who of course was, came there once the Devils got knocked out, and then Samuel Ersson from Philly have been just dominating everybody. Jordan Bennington's came over, and Marc-Andre Fleury are playing goal for Canada. Canada's not too far behind them. They've only given up 2 goals in 5 games. They might play their game just now because I think they were playing earlier today, but I didn't get the final in time for that. USA's doing okay. They've won 5 games. They're 5-1. Their one loss was to the Swiss. They've yet to play Czechia, who's the defending champs. They're up front. They are, of course, led by David Pastrnak, who is just on fire. He scored 12 goals. And then Cervenka Roman has also done well for them. He's playing in the KHL. He did have a brief NHL career, but never really made it there, but he's doing well for them. And then Nathan McKinnon, of course, leading the way for Canada. Some guy named Sidney Crosby has 9 points. And Elias Lindholm is leading the way for Sweden from Boston. And then Frank Nazar, the young kid from Chicago, which this was his first full year, leading Team USA. He's got 9 points in goal. And then their goalies have been Swayman, who's been okay. He's not been terrible, but I don't know how, the US will make the medal round. The way the medal round works, as you look here at the standings, Group A, the team that finishes first is going to face the 4th best team from Group B. So your possible matchups right now would be Sweden against Denmark. Latvia would play Czechia. Canada, US is right now on a collision course for a potential matchup. There is a chance that the US could catch Switzerland, and of course Sweden still has to play Canada. So either way, if US ends up finishing 3rd in Group B, they're either getting Sweden or they're getting Canada in the medal round, and I don't like our chances.
No, you're right.
I'm just glad Matthew Tkachuk's not playing in any of these games.
That's correct. Yeah. If one of your favorite team's players is playing in this games, that's never a good sign because that means that their team has been eliminated. And that'll be interesting to see now because they can change the rosters. So now you've got the guys that just got eliminated. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see if any of them go. And of course, you do still see there is no Russia. They are still not allowed to compete in international competitions. So if you're wondering why there's no Russia, that's the reason why. So you don't have any of those big name Russian players that are over there.
Well, listen, if you listen to me about this, if you're going to bet money, as a French American, always bet against the French in hockey.
Yes.
I mean, look at that. I mean, just put money, whoever they're playing, put money on them. I mean, all the French had were one day they had Cristobal Huet. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Sorry, guys. That's it.
They've had 1 point, and I think Norway's only got a point too, which is kind of weird. I thought Norway would maybe do. I mean, like even Kazakhstan has points somehow. I have not looked at the Kazakhstanian roster to see who's on that, but I might have to check it out just for fun because actually they did at least win a game. So and they've lost because they got 3 points. So hey,
Well,
Norway is good at ski jumping. So
yes,
when the Winter Olympics come out, watch them.
Yeah, but you remember they tied us in that pre-1980 game, and then the guys had to go and do the famous skate for again. Sorry, any chance I can go back to Miracle? I'm always going to do that. So,
hey, go Dick Patrick.
That's all right. Anyone else on the World Hockey stuff?
No, sir.
All right. So of course, you got Sarah asked for this the last one if I was going to do the updates on the minor league hockey stuff. So Sarah, this is just for you. So the East Coast Hockey League is down to their final 4. You got the Toledo Walleye, a fantastic hockey name in and of themselves, against Kansas City. Toledo is of course the affiliate for your Detroit Red Wings, and Kansas City is with St. Louis, I believe, if I have it correct. No, Kansas City's with Seattle.
Oh,
And
Seattle.
then, yep, then you have, of course, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it in French because I can't pronounce French, but it's a town in Quebec. So we all know that they're the affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah, that place, and they are playing. They're going up against the Everglades, who are they are the 2-time defending champs. So they're going for the three-peat so far. Toledo is up 2-0, and that city in Quebec is up 2-0 as well. So those ones have been a little bit more low scoring. They've beaten Florida 1-0 and 2-1. Toledo has won 2-0 and 4-3. Now those series all switched to Florida, and these are also best 3 out of 5 still. So in theory, they could be over with here very shortly. Or no, I'm sorry, ththese are best 4 out of 7. It's the Calder Cup that's still best 3 out of 5. So these guys are 4 out of 7. And then speaking of the Calder Cup, they're not quite as far along. The AHL still is at 8 teams. You have Charlotte is up 2-0 on Hershey. Charlotte is the affiliate for the Florida Panthers, and the Hershey Bears are the affiliate for the Washington Capitals. So Paul and Scott, you kind of got a little AHL rivalry going on there. But Hershey usually always they do pretty good. I think they won it last year, if I remember right.
They've won it like 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. Yeah, I thought they were.
At one point last year, they were down 3-0
That's
in
right,
the conference finals. And in fact, Joe Beninati came into one of the Harris Teeters I was wine distributing with, and I asked him about it. He goes, they should just lose and call it a day because they've really tried hard. and then they go win 4 straight.
Straight. That's right.
Suck it, Joe B.
I remember them coming back on that. And then you got Rochester, which is Buffalo, against the Laval Rocket, which is Montreal's affiliate. Milwaukee, which is they're tied at 1 game apiece. Milwaukee and Texas. Milwaukee's with Nashville. Texas Stars are obviously with Dallas. So that series is tied at 1. The Colorado Eagles, which is the Avalanche's affiliate, and they are playing the Abbotsford's Canucks. So, of course, that's Vancouver's affiliate. They're also tied at 1, and these are still best 3 out of 5 series. So they should be wrapping up this week. So there's the minor league hockey update for Sarah because she wanted it.
Well, my Jacksonville Icemen got knocked out, but if you guys want to come down for a game next year, you just let me know.
All right.
Yeah, because they do play because Jacksonville's in the ECHL, right?
That's correct.
For those that don't know that may be watching, the way the minor league hockey works, it's very similar to minor league baseball. The AHL would be your AAA teams. The ECHL is your AA teams. There is no single A like what you have in baseball. In hockey, a lot of people kind of almost look at the college and has the A level really. So your college and your juniors are really kind of more the A. You don't really ever see guys jump from the East Coast Hockey League up to the NHL. There's a few stories of it, but it's not like in baseball where you can see a guy go from AA ball right up to the pros and then just take off and run. You don't. It's
usually a goalie who needs to be brought up, and like the AHL team is playing they have a game, and the NHL team needs a goalie, so they'll pull from the ECHL, and normally they never play.
Yep. Yeah, that's about really the you see more goalies make that jump from the East Coast to the NHL than you do the A. But the A is a good league. You see decent hockey there. So we'll see how the minor leagues go. It's always fun.
Yeah.
You gonna try going to the Toledo game, Paul?
No, they. I thought about it, but I was waiting to see. Now they go to Casey, so we'll see. Maybe they make the final. I might try to go into a game since the schedule since Florida just had to crush Toronto and there's no game 3 on Saturday in Raleigh now. Then we'll have to see. But we'll get to that here in a second. Here we're close on that. So we did have some hockey hire moves. So Vancouver hires their assistant Adam Foote, who is a longtime Colorado Avalanche player, longtime D, solid career, has won a cup as a player. He was a coach in the WHL for a couple seasons right after he retired. Never really took back on as the head coach, was an assistant for Vancouver, even though I was a little bit surprised by the hire because I thought they might just go completely new in Vancouver than hiring their assistant when you seem to have locker room issues. But here we are. He gets a shot in the NHL. Any thoughts on Adam Foote in Vancouver and how he might do?
Well, yeah, you got a player. I mean, players want to play for a coach who knows what it's like out there. A lot of times you've got a guy like Rod Brindamore, Rick Tocchet, I know we're going to talk about in a second. I think it's I mean, I think it's good to have some continuity, depending on what the issues in the locker room were. But good for Adam Foote. I mean, I think back of his career, he was always a grinder. Played on some really great teams with Forsberg and Sakic, and obviously Patrick. So
Agree.
excited for him.
Scott.
Yeah, Adam Foote was a really good NHL defenseman, very physical, tough as nails. Won 2 Stanley Cups in Colorado. You just didn't want to face that dude. By the way, he was. Fact here is that he was the last ever Quebec Nordique to play in an NHL game because he outlasted all the other guys. So he was drafted by Quebec. He actually has 2 NHL sons. One is having some issues right now, court-wise.
Yeah.
And so that's a thing. But here, an interesting thing that you brought up, Paul brought up Rick Tocchet, who we're going to bring up in a second. So Rick Tocchet was the last Vancouver coach, and Adam Foote was his assistant. So they did hire from within.
Yeah, and that brings us a perfect segue into Rick Tocchet, which I think we pretty much called when we said this a couple weeks ago when we were all on, that him leaving Vancouver, it seemed like that the spot that he was going to land in is Philly, and here he is in Philly. No, I don't really think it's a shock. I don't know if it's going to work in Philly for him or not. He's bounced around everywhere. To me, he's just kind of an average coach. But the NHL, I don't know who loves to recycle coaches more, the NFL or the NHL. But the NHL, if it is the NFL, the NHL isn't that far behind in recycling guys. So
definitely the NHL.
Another shot.
I mean, when's Ken Hitchcock getting rehired?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Is there anything on these coaches getting hired?
Not really. I was kind of thinking about it earlier, all these teams in a rebuild, which ones I would see being more successful. Out of these new hirings, I would say maybe Vancouver's got a pretty good chance of having a better season than they did this year. But Philly, I think they're kind of just stuck in a rut. It's going to take way more than a new coach to fix what they got going on.
I think I kind of agree with you. I think the Vancouver is definitely a much more quicker situation to win and get back into the playoffs. There's just a lot of teams for Philly to climb over in the Metro that I just don't know if they're going to be able to climb over them. And if anyone in the Metro that didn't make the playoffs this year gets in next year, I think I kind of like Columbus more than any of the other teams, honestly. But we'll get into that when we get into the doldrums of summer and we need to talk hockey and predictions for next year. So.
Yeah, I've never been a Rick Tocchet fan as a head coach. He has a horrible record as a head coach. He does have one, Jack Adams win, but he had a great team, and that was one. And every other time, he always finishes in 5th place. So he's not a good coach. And nice segue there. He's not a very good coach, and I think he'll last 2 years there because Philadelphia is pathetic, and they have really bad players on their team.
Didn't he play
the general manager?
He did,
and it's a fail up in Philadelphia, and he's just horrible.
So that's what it is they're trying to bring back the former player to I don't know, keep the fans satisfied for 2 years while they churn the roster and figure it out.
Yep, I'm
gonna get all the Philly hate mail.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's nothing new anyway from that. So this next segment is
bring it.
This next segment is specifically for KG because if we all know the Carolina Hurricanes took care of the Washington Capitals in 5 games. After the series was over, KG basically came out saying that the Capitals were choking dogs. And if you watched the show yesterday, Midnight Rider gave his reasons as to why he believes that it isn't. But I basically was supposed to testify as to why the Carolina Hurricanes defeating the Washington Capitals in 5 games was not a choke job by the Washington Capitals. So before I present my case, I saw you raise your hand, Paul. So
I was testifying.
Oh, you're testifying. Oh, okay. Scott, now Scott's also a Caps fan. Do you believe that the Caps choked in this series, or do you think it was just the running into the wrong team at the wrong time?
Yeah, did they choke? Absolutely not. No, they didn't. They ran into a great Carolina Hurricane team, which I said they're really good. Anyways, I even said that Washington would win in 6 games. That didn't happen. My picks have been horrible. But but Carolina, I mean, Ron Brindamore is arguably the best coach in the NHL right now. He just doesn't have a Stanley Cup. I mean, this could be the year. This could be the year, but he doesn't have one yet. He if anyone deserves it, he does. His defense was overpowering. The Caps, I think on one game they had 4 shots on goal total in the game. They may have gone to overtime too. I don't know, but
Yes, one game to go to
okay.
overtime.
Sometimes you got to shoot a little more too, but
Right.
but the defense was just. I mean, it was kind of like watching the Jacques Lemaire and the '97 Devils just choke everyone out. Maybe I should say the '99 Devils, but in that range. I mean, it was just like they couldn't get through it was like neutral zone trap too.
And I think this is where it starts with Freddie Anderson in goal. He was amazing in the series.
When he actually had shots on him, he was amazing.
Yeah. 7 goals in 5 games. A couple of saves that he made, especially in Game 4, were really, really big. And I think what you have to remember too for Washington, the core of this newfound, yes, you have Ovi, which is 39 years old, but the core of this Washington team is still very young. Mm-hmm. Most of them, this was their second go around in the playoffs. Yeah, the Canes had the Canes core, which is a much wider base. This is years 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah. So the Canes have been here before. They just don't. Especially in this series anyway, they didn't show any signs of getting, freaking out during tight games. They love playing in tight games, and they've been there before. And then, my other part of this argument is going to be very simply the best defending defenseman in the NHL is in Carolina, and that's Jacob Slavin. In Game 4 alone, McMichael is kind of coming in on a little 2-on-1 break. He thinks he makes a move, and there's Slavin's stick, and the puck goes up and wide. When the goalie's pulled, Freddie makes a good save, but the puck is sitting right there, and whose stick gets to it first? Jacob Slavin puts it in the corner. Next thing you know, they go down and they score the empty netter. Jacob Slavin is, and I said this before the series started, that if Carolina was going to win this series, it's going to be because of Freddie and Jacob Slavin. And Jacob Slavin.
You said both of them. You said both of them.
And Jacob Slavin just once again proved it. Now, if I was going to have a concern for the Capitals, it would be, I think Ovi in this series looked very old all of a sudden. And look, he had an incredible season, and maybe the run to get him the record kind of wore out the team, where they couldn't get to that next gear because for whatever reason, they just couldn't get to that gear. Now, I think some of that's just because when you're constantly chasing the puck, like the Canes make you do, and the Canes did that very well for 5 games, every game of the series, you just get tired because all you're doing is just chasing the puck up and down the ice because you can't get it on your stick. And then when you do, you've got to immediately get it off your stick because somebody's on you.
Yeah, the Caps appeared tired the whole time. Now, I disagree with you about the Ovechkin thing, but that's fine. No, he seemed a little slower and all that stuff, but they all seemed it. And I think, again, that had to do with Rod Brindamore and that, the way that, like you were saying, dish the puck down there, up front, pressure them at the blue line. They just couldn't get a flow going. And Ovechkin does need, if you know Ovechkin, he needs a flow.
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while he'll get that. He'll get a crazy goal, and then it begins, but that doesn't happen all the time that way. But he needs to be in a flow, a pace, and they just couldn't get a pace going. And I just want to say that this is not a knock on Spencer Carberry, or I think he's going to win the Jack Adams this year, and he should.
He should, yes.
He's a really good coach. His second year as well. He's 36, something like that, in that range. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you're saying, the rest of that team, it can only get better.
Yeah, I think I had picked Washington to win the series. I think I was maybe drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid as to how they finished the regular season. But the more I kind of watched this series, it seemed, obviously, like you were saying, there was great goaltending, there was great defense, but it just didn't seem like there were enough other players from Washington stepping up. And it almost seemed like they had gotten used to this kind of mindset of, okay, where's Ovi? Let's feed him. Where's Ovi? Let's feed him. And it got a little bit vanilla, and it takes time to set up a guy. There were a couple of times, I mean, without having a dog in the fight, there were a couple of times I'm watching Washington on a power play, or just when they're in the zone, I'm just like, shoot the fucking puck. shoot the puck.
Yeah, you
And
got to
I mean,
shoot the puck.
they didn't have a lot of great chances. I thought the defense really stepped up. I thought Freddie had a great series, and hats off to Carolina. I thought Brenda Moore knew what they were trying to do, and I don't really know that Washington had any answer or adjustments, and that was the thing that kind of surprised me.
Now, the one thing that Kirk Muller did, though, is, their power play coach for Washington, he did move Ovechkin around. He would move him down to he'd move him back around to the blue line a bit into the points, and that still didn't generate anything.
No. Yeah, and I think and I know what KG's point is, because the early caps, you only had the one cup, and but this team, I don't think really is honestly with that legacy, because that was with Backstrom and with Holtby in goal. This
Totally
is kind
different.
of like Ovechkin part 2 in my group. So to me,
Yeah.
it's kind of the start of that next front, and now look, Ovi's I think from hearing his exit interview, he's clearly coming back next year.
He's coming.
He wants to play at 40. He wants 900 goals. So I don't think the Caps have to do too much, and we'll get, as we get into the offseason, we can kind of get into looking at who their UFAs are and stuff like that. But that's the other part of this too, is this team, I think, exceeded expectations in the regular season. I think I had them to make the playoffs. I definitely thought they'd be better than what they were last year. I wasn't sold on Pierre-Luc Dubois, but he had a hell of a year for them. Jacob Churn was an amazing add, and you guys
Amazing.
locked him up for a couple more years. So that's a fantastic move to solidify that defense, because he was definitely their best player in Game 5. He was the only one that was creating chances, in Game 5 for them. So I think you've got nothing to go. I know Midnight Rider talked about, with how the NHL does it by points instead, and how these matchups occur in the second round, and that's with them had forced Carolina. The only thing I would say to that, to disagree with him on that, is that if you went by points, Washington would have gotten Florida, and I'll be honest with you, Florida and Carolina play such a similar style. I don't think it would have gone any better for Washington against Florida, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Paul, right? I'm sure you. Yeah, I know. Sarah, you got any thoughts on, do you think Washington choked or not? Just strictly on that part of it?
No, Washington didn't choke. I mean, you have to think about it as compared to how they did last season, I don't think anybody, not even, their own fans, really expected them to go this far. I think it's great that they even did. I mean, being first in the Metro and almost getting the President's Trophy, I mean, that's impressive compared to last season. But I mean, compared to what their standards were, the fact that they went this far, I think it's impressive enough. It sucks it went this way. I didn't think it was going to go this way. I mean, if we lost, it was either going to be Washington or now Florida. So, or whoever's in the Stanley Cup, either two. I could see this going anywhere. But
We'll save those predictions for later.
I know, but I mean, we already know where my head's leaning.
I know your head's leaning too. So this next little segment, we're going to call this, and this is a question that Midnight Rider posed that he wanted us to tackle today. So it's called "When Midnight Strikes," and this he gets credit for the title because he came up with it. So I'm using it. So congrats to you, Midnight Rider. But he asks, it's like, can we talk style of play? He says, when I watch the West, they play fast. When I watch the East, they play heavy with a hitting style. So he wanted us to kind of talk about style of play in the NHL, and if we think that it's different in the West and East. And I don't really know that I think of it at West and East, because if I look at a team like Dallas, I think they also have a bit of physicality to them. Now Edmonton, they want to run and gun. Obviously, they just want to. They will try to outscore you. LA was a team that will try and outscore you. Colorado was a team that will just try to outscore you in a lot of ways. I think Dallas is kind of that. But yeah, especially like if you look at the Final Four teams that are left, you got Florida and Carolina that are teams that definitely like to use their physicality on the forecheck. And that's what I think playing heavy means, is it's a team that just gets aggressive on the forecheck to create turnovers and then get the puck for themselves. Where out West, you've got guys that still kind of, with Dallas and with Edmonton, that kind of want to generate scoring chances by going up and down the ice with some speed. What do you guys think as far as this? Is it a West-East thing as far as playing fast or heavy, or?
I think it's a coach thing. I don't necessarily know it's a regional thing. I mean, but case in point, you've got some of these, Corvette teams that they just want to fly and beat you with speed. And in some cases, they can, but as we saw last year, when Florida played Edmonton, the physical game just ended up taking them out of it. You live and die by the sword, and when it comes time to respond to a team that's physical and can run with you, then it becomes a much tighter game. But that's not to say that if you've got a team that's just full of friggin' flamingos, that you can't just fly up and down the ice and just win these games like 7-5 just because you're these big physical teams are exhausted chasing you because they can't chase you. But if they catch you, look out. That's kind of the way it is.
Right. Scott, any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think I see where Ben's going too. I see where the Riders going, because traditionally the West seems to have all the speedsters. This they got the Gretzkys and the Siddons and whoever, Timo Solani. They got all those guys out there.
Finish Flash.
On the East, you had like Lindros and Cam Neely, Mario Lemieux, who was flat, but he was big. Jaromir Jagr, flashy but big. They can handle themselves. So I think there is something to that a little bit. But I think what Paul said mostly is, maybe that has to do with travel, because it's easy. Like New York, they can go to Long Island, they can go to Boston, Montreal, Philadelphia, Washington. They're all at these places pretty quick. Like Denver has to go to LA, to Vegas, to Edmonton, to Calgary. So those places aren't close. So you might it might be more physical if you can travel quicker. There's that. But I think the coaches, like when Bruce Boudreau went out to the West Coast, he did it. He brought everything he did from the Capitals out there. So a lot of the times it does that to do it. And then once, back in the day, Glenn Sather, he was the Edmonton coach. Well, he came to New York and he brought the Edmonton style coaching back over, just like Mike Keenan. And Chicago. Tough as nails, but he brought that to New York and he brought that down to Florida. Not that it was that successful in Florida, but where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Wasn't the best time when he was coaching things in Florida.
And I think I kind of agree with Paul. I think it is all about the coach and who's there and what style they're going to want to bring. It does seem like there is the two lines of thinking. You're either trying to go. I think everyone in the NHL is trying to get speed. Like speed is the new norm now. Everyone can kind of fly, but you're looking for these guys that not only have speed but can still play a physical game. And that combination is not always the easiest, of course, to find. Florida has done a great job of finding guys that can be both. Your Makachucks, your Sam Bennettts, your Reinhardts, that not only are they physical, but they can also, you give them an opening, they're going to put the puck in the net. So Edmonton's a different beast because Connor McDavid is clearly the best player in the game. Leon Draisaitl is probably clearly the second best player in the game. And when those two go up and down the ice, it's just fun to watch, right? Look, we've heard all this talk about the Carolina Hurricane style being boring. Well, I get it. It could seem boring when your team is just getting shut down left and right, but it takes skill to play that way.
Winning is never boring.
Winning. I enjoyed that 5-game series very much.
You know what? If my team could run and get 5 yards a carry every time they snap the ball, I would be thrilled if they never threw a pass.
You're going to win a lot of games running 5 yards a carry.
Right. Sarah, what do you think on the
boring
speed?
If it works?
Exactly. What do you think on speed versus heavy play stuff from a younger fan's point of view?
It's a hate-love relationship. It's you kind of hate to see it on other teams, but you don't mind seeing it on your team. Carolina, we do have a little bit of that play every here and there, but I don't think it's like we can survive without it. We have different pieces that we can function off of, like our defense, our goaltending. There's other things to say. We don't have to have we do have a pretty good offense. We don't have to have a good offense to have a winning game or anything. I think it is it'll be interesting to see how Carolina and Florida play each other with their similar playing styles. Yeah, it'll be a lot of that. Just skip to it, you know.
We'll see.
Well, since you said it, Sarah, that seems like a perfect segue right to the Eastern Conference Finals. So before we get into that, Ben just says, "Thanks for the answers. Great title." I'm sure you're welcome, sir. So hopefully, hopefully we helped KG with coming off the ledge on your Washington Capitals too. That was the other part of that goal. So let's get into the East guys first. Of course, Florida wins a Game 7 against Toronto yesterday. Not really, Mo tried to say the game was closer than what it was, and yes, for the first period it was scoreless. But once,
Sorry.
hey, I was trying to let you go. I didn't want to talk over it. So it's an interesting trying to way to make it sound like, but they really did blow them out. The series was so weird. The home team wins the first 4 games. The road team wins the last 3 games. The best part about that is I don't know why I love watching Toronto fans cry and weep. But I do. I took great enjoyment in going back and watching all the Toronto fans mope around the entire third period, watching them, the ones that showed up outside, watching them sit there quietly, watching their team lose yet again. I shouldn't enjoy as much because they have the same type of badness going on as my Cleveland Guards do. But for some reason, I enjoy it. I don't know why. But here we are. So those are our 2 teams. I do want to go over, this is Florida's 3rd time in a row. So I'll give you guys these stats, and then I'll give you guys who you think is going to win it. So this is their 3rd time in a row being here. They've made it to the Cup Finals every time. This is a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals from 2 years ago when Florida did sweep Carolina. I know you hear the term sweep and you think, oh, they must have blown them out. That really wasn't the case in that series. 2 of the games went to overtime. The other game was an empty netter. The 4th game, the winning goal scored with 1:10 left. So they were 4 very close games, and I don't necessarily always like the way that Rod answered the question. So that could have very easily been a 4-0 series. Well, for Carolina, which I guess in theory, yes, but it didn't go that way. The Carolina Hurricanes have a very interesting past with this Eastern Conference Final. They won the very first 2 appearances back in 2002 to go up against Detroit, who they lost to. They, of course, then won on in 2006 and beat Buffalo to advance to the Eastern Conference, or to the Stanley Cup Final. However, the Rod Brind'Amour is 0-2 in the Eastern Conference Final. He has yet to win a game in the Eastern Conference Final. And if you go back to 2008, when they got swept by the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Carolina Hurricanes are 0-12 in their last 12 Eastern Conference Final games. So if Carolina wins a game, maybe that means that they're going to win it all, because it seems like they either get swept in this round or they advance to the Stanley Cup Finals. So there's some of the stats I'll throw out there for you guys. Let's go with Scott first, because he does not have a dog in this fight.
I have no dog in the fight, but like I've always said, the Florida Panthers are my 2nd favorite NHL team. So go, Paulie, get the win, do what you have to do. But you're probably going to hate this, Paul, because my picks have been pretty bad. So I'm actually picking the Panthers to win in 7 overtime. Right. It's going to be a great series. I think.
Scott's like the dad from Red Dawn, like, avenge me,
avenge me.
I think it's exciting to be back. I think if you look at what the Florida Panthers have done with basically just taking the less need F them draft picks approach to churning your roster. Last year they had Brandon Montour and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, got rid of them. They brought in Nate Schmidt from Winnipeg. And they kind of rotated some other guys around, for the regular season, and they kind of did their thing. And then they brought in Seth Jones, and that guy's just been such a friggin' spark plug for just holding down the defense, scoring opportunities, big physical presence. You can tell he's hungry. I just really love the ecosystem that's built there. Anybody who's been watching this team for the last few years knows that Matthew Tkachuk is obviously hurt. I don't know to what degree he's hurt, but something is just off with his game. His chirping is still, all-star caliber. He's definitely there to kind of get under people's skins. I'm really hoping that he can kind of, I'm hoping he can start to kind of pick things up a little bit. But honestly, so long as he's out there on the ice, I think he's helping the team. But there's something definitely off with his game. But I mean, Matt and I have I texted him just about every game of the last series. In the first two, the thing that was very consistent in the games that Florida lost to Toronto is that the Stars just were non-factors, complete non-factors. No matter how, Bob played, you've got, Bennett, Reinhart, Kachuk, all the big names are just invisible. The Marchand, Lundell, Lusterinian line is maybe the best line in the playoffs right now. If you look at just total points that they've had, I think it's going to be a lot for Carolina to handle, for being honest. But at the same time, we're tired, man. Like, I know I kind of felt like coming out of the Tampa series, winning that one and having the break, it's almost like it took us a game to catch up. So I'm secretly hoping that Carolina comes out a little bit, too rested. Because I could tell you in the 3 games that Florida lost, and the thing that I think would serve Carolina well was there were 3 games where they just came out and boom, first shift they scored a goal. Like one of them was 33 seconds, one was like 19 seconds. I'm like, what the hell? We're in a hole already. And psychologically, you just play a different game. So I think it's going to be really key on Carolina to come out and start early. I think the psychological size of the matchup, knowing the history, you got to be able to block that out. I don't know how you do, but you need to be able to block that out to give yourselves a fair chance. But you know what? It's the playoffs, man. Players step up. And, I could absolutely see this game going to 7. I could see Carolina, really getting a foothold and knocking Florida out in 6. But deep in my heart, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Florida's, it's scary for me as a fan because it's like they've literally looked like Jekyll and Hyde through the entire last series, and I almost don't know what team's going to show up. But it's like once you kind of see the what team shows up, then you're like, okay.
Right.
And I think it's, the cream rises to the top. I think you're going to have 2 really, really good teams that are hungry. I think, Pomo's going to have them ready. Marchand's certainly excited and ready.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to finally like him, which is really hard for me still.
I can imagine. Yes.
But he's becoming very likable, and maybe it's just because of how he handled Paul Bissonnette, who really could not have shown his ass more throughout the last series.
Agree. There you go. Okay. All right. Sarah, what do you got?
Okay, Paul, are you saying that if Carolina scores first, it's going to be hard for Florida to come back and win it?
I'm saying that the consistent denominator in the 3 losses against Toronto was that not that they scored first, that they came out just so fast and scored first. And like, it wasn't just that they scored first. It just seemed like they took control of the game. And Florida, like in those losses, Florida was chasing, and like, I'm not saying that they can't win games from behind, because they obviously, got down 3-1 and did the over the top flip of the hat and, turn the whole series around. But I know Sarah's like, I don't understand that reference. But it's they can play from behind, but I'm just saying the consistent factors. If you guys can get out to an early start, 2-0, it's gonna make things a lot different, because Florida, you could just kind of see there's very few times where Florida kind of grips a little bit too tight, and you could kind of see it in those games that they lost, that they were gripping too tight. It's like I said, when they remember who they are, they're unstoppable. But you get hit in the mouth a couple times. Sometimes you forget who you are.
All right, Sarah. So who do you got?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think this is definitely a series that's going 6 or 7. As much as I'd love to say, like, I thought maybe like home ice advantage would have a say in this, but even seeing Florida get a couple games away, and I mean, obviously we've gotten a couple games away too. It'll be interesting to see how it all ties along, to see if the atmosphere brings anything different. I think something that obviously gets Carolina going is the crowd. Everybody talks about it. It's loud in there. It's loud at Lenovo. Like, if Florida can get used to playing in that, and if the atmosphere doesn't scare them, yeah, they got a good chance of getting a couple away games. I'm obviously kind of rooting for Carolina in 7 because I'm trying to tell Dad maybe to come down for that one if it goes to that series.
We'll
But
see. We'll see.
I'm going to try going to this series. I obviously haven't decided when. We'll obviously see how the first 2 games go to see if there's going to be a game 5. But it's going to be a very interesting series. As much as I am looking forward to Edmonton and Dallas, I think this one, I mean, obviously I'm biased because it's got my team in it, but I think this one's a lot of more people, I think, are starting to watch Carolina because not really many people see us. I mean, we're an underdog, which, I mean, I don't mind at all. Like, keep it going, but it's going to be interesting to see how many series Carolina's going to have to win. And obviously, like you said, Dad, like if we can win a game, then it kind of shows against the record. Like, we might go all the way because that's just kind of how a record is. We gotta beat the fraud allegations where we cannot win an Eastern Conference Final series. We gotta beat that soon because if not, it's gonna be tough. It's good to be a team that gets in the playoffs all the time, but we can't do anything with it if we can't advance further than the Eastern Conference Final.
I agree, and it's going to be, I love this matchup in one sense because you got Mo for Florida, you got Rod on the other side. These two coaches, which if anyone wonders, well, where did Rod get his coaching style from? A lot of it is from Paul Maurice because Rod played under Maurice. They basically are best friends almost. Outside of it, they still talk a lot. You see it when they, after them, every, during their coaches meetings and stuff like that they'll have. You see the relationship that those two have together. So it doesn't surprise me that these two teams play the similar style. They both like to use the forecheck to get to their game and to control the puck. I think Florida still honestly has a few better scores than what Carolina has. But you guys have heard me say this before. When you get to this point in time in the season, most series come down to special teams and goaltending. And I think the series is what it's going to come down to. Freddie Anderson has been lights out. If Carolina makes it, he's right now the odds-on favorite that would be their Conn Smythe winner with how he's played. For Florida, I think it's probably Reinhart. Bob's been okay, but Bob's been leaky in a couple of games if you get to him early, like what Paul said. And I think that's the key for Carolina is if you can get to Bob early. Sometimes he lets in 3 or 4. If you let Bob get going and he gets a first period where he's made 10 or 12 stops and he's got the goose egg on the board, he gets difficult to beat the rest of the way through. So I honestly think Florida will win this series probably in 6 or 7. But hey, I've picked against Carolina the last series and that worked out well for us. So why buck that trend now? But I don't know. The series is going to be interesting. I do agree. I think Carolina's got to win at least one of these first 2 games at home, probably game 1, because you just play as much as this is a different team and stuff like that. Players know that Rod hasn't won a game in this Eastern Conference Final, and the only way to get that monkey off the back is to win a game. And maybe if they win a game, then all that pressure is gone, and then who the hell knows where this team can go. But if Florida wins game 1, I could somehow actually see Florida getting on a roll, and who knows if Carolina can recover from it.
We'll see.
Yep. All right. So Scott, you got anything else you want to add? I think we lost you there for a second. You look like you're in another spot in the casino now.
He's in the Blumkin ring. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm in the Florida book right now because I had power outage, so I got my power back.
Power is back.
But I have nothing
All
else
right,
to add. You guys said it all.
Okay. Well, let's hit the West. This is going to be an interesting one too. Dallas gets Edmonton. This is a rematch of last year's. You talk about another team. I'll just throw some of these. Dallas has made this is now 4 of the last six Western conferences for Dallas. This is their 3rd in a row. They've lost the last 2 to Vegas and Edmonton. So whoever Dallas has lost to went on to win the cup the last 2 years. So we'll see if that trend continues. One thing I forgot to mention too from the East, which is an interesting tidbit, no team outside of Florida has won the Eastern Conference Finals since 2019 when Boston did it. It's either been Tampa Bay, who won 3 in a row, and then Florida now, who's won 3 in a row. So one other little thing I forgot to mention from there for a little bit more fun trivia. So here we are for Edmonton. They rolled through Vegas, which kind of surprised me that they rolled through them in 5 games. Dallas gets through Winnipeg in 6 games. Of course, the emotional game 6 I do want to touch a little bit on, which is, Mark Sheffley's dad dies the morning of that game. He goes out, plays, he scores the first goal of the game, and you're thinking the hockey gods are going to reward this guy for going out there playing this emotional game. Dallas ties it up. There's 15 seconds left in the 3rd period. Mikko Rantanen is going in on a breakaway. Shifley trips him. Probably could have honestly been called a penalty shot. I was actually it was the first penalty of the game. So I think that's why he probably didn't want to call a penalty shot in that situation, but he very easily could have called a penalty shot. He did trip him from behind. He was in the clear. But they don't score in the 15 seconds. The power play goes on into the first overtime. And sure enough, Dallas wins it while on that power play. So now Mark Shifley has to make the skate of shame from the penalty box over to his team, because now the game is over. But sure as hell enough, every one of those players, just all they do is hug him. They give him a big hug. Connor and him, it seemed like that hug was a good 2 minutes long. The handshake line starts. Everyone from Dallas, just nothing but respect for that guy. And even in the post game conferences, everyone's talking about how hard it would have been for them to try to play in that game. And again, I talked earlier about the amount of money that was raised by fans for that situation. It's just always catches me on these emotional type of things, and how, especially with hockey players, for whatever reason, they just do it right when these things happen. So a tip of the hat to everyone that was involved and showing Mark the love of his dad passing early in that game. And I'm sure he feels like he cost them the game, but that's the furthest thing from the truth. So, so with that said, guys, what's your guys' thoughts on Dallas and Edmonton Part 2? Edmonton won last year in 6 games.
I hate Dallas. They look so damn good. I hate them. Ottinger's playing amazing. I hate them. I hope Edmonton wins. But I think of the 2 teams in the last series, and maybe it was just the matchup, I think Dallas looked like the more impressive team. Hopefully Edmonton can pull it out, just because I hate Dallas.
I agree with that sentiment. Sarah, what do you think?
Well, I do think Edmonton did kind of get lucky going against Vegas. Vegas burned out. Don't really know what happened. It'll be interesting to see how they play next year. It's just burning out again. That's weird. But I will say maybe Edmonton is still getting on a lucky streak. Dallas is just on a hot streak. They're not lucky. I mean, they're just good. I mean, call it luck if you want to just call being good lucky. But I mean, they definitely have more skill, and they have more of the pieces. I think their grit will kind of play for it a little bit more. I could see this game probably going, I'd say almost Dallas in 5. I think they're just too hot. It's hard to say who's going to beat them. I mean, if it's an Eastern Conference final team or whatnot, but I think I could see Dallas. I think Dallas is going to the Stanley Cup. I don't know if they're going to win it. I mean, if they're still on the streak, then maybe they're winning the cup, but Dallas is they're too good.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Scott, what do you think?
I'm looking at a Stanley Cup rematch. I don't know how many games this will go. Let's just say 7. But I like Edmonton playing Florida again.
Yeah, this series is so interesting to me because I mean, Edmonton, this is how it went last year. If you remember, like Stuart Skinner couldn't stop a puck in the first round. They somehow survive. He gets pulled for Picard, but and Picard wasn't necessarily great, but in this case, then he gets hurt. So now they go back to Skinner. Skinner's pitched 2 straight shutouts to get him here. I don't know if Edmonton is just meant to keep getting to this spot or not. But either there's so many potential weird rematches, right? You could either have Dallas against Edmonton. You could have Edmonton against Carolina, which would take us back to when Carolina won the Stanley Cup in back in 06. You could have Dallas against Carolina, which would face Mikko Rantanen for his brief time in Carolina going up against Carolina, and that whole story. I don't really know there's a fun rematch story with Dallas and Florida, but the other three, there's some type of a rematch story which would be interesting to see happen, which probably means it'll be Dallas and Florida then, because that would be maybe
Peter DeBoer was the coach of Florida.
there you go. So see there, yeah, that's right, because he was there before the latest run.
He led him to a Stanley Cup playoff.
Yeah, so there we go. So yeah, so there's some way, shape, or form. There's going to be some intriguing matchup, for the finals. So I personally think the way Dallas is playing right now, like I said it after I saw how when they took out Colorado, and now they got everyone healthy. They could be the team to beat. Like if I would have done a redo of my picks after the round one, I probably would have had Dallas winning it all. I don't necessarily like it either because of the whole Rantanen thing, but that team just looks really, really hard to beat. So I'll take Dallas in 6.
Yeah. Well, if it's Florida Dallas, let me tell you, I'm going to be very, very salty if we don't win that series. But when and if we do win that series, it's going to be delicious.
If it's Florida Dallas, I'll be rooting for you for sure. You have no reason on that. So, all right. Any other comments on the West, guys?
I do want to bring up, if when it goes back, did you ever see the replay of Rooney getting hit in the face?
Yes, I did. That was brutal. There's been so many times as a ref where I've had a stick get really, really close, and I've gotten it on the nose once, and didn't need stitches or anything, fortunately, but it did bleed for a couple seconds. That was scary because it got up underneath that visor, man. And there's nothing you can do as a referee. You try as much as you can, say, stripes here with you, look up. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And like in that case, the stick came up high. I didn't look to see how many stitches he ended up needing last night.
I think it was 5.
He was bleeding a lot on that ice last night. So
that sparked Florida. They scored 3 goals within 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
I know we're running long, and I'm gonna have to leave in just a moment. But since we're talking about this, I think that all of us would love to just have Matty Ice mic'd up for a session, so that we could just pull the sound bites and just make a whole show just about sound bites about you talking about other players or calling penalties, all the different levels. I think that would be golden.
And not only that, Paul, can I add on to that? He should wear a helmet cam.
Yes. Thankfully, USA Hockey does not allow GoPros.
Because I want to see him throw out parents with the helmet cam.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, you got to get it. And kind of instigate the parents a little too, so you can get it done.
Let's get the Midnight Rider on this. I'm sure we can get a sponsor.
Accidentally trip their kid, call their kid, give him a 2-minute penalty and he didn't do anything. See what happens.
I don't even have to instigate them, Scott. Especially if it's a team with karma. Those parents are crazy.
Yeah, they are.
Beer League would probably be the best chance to watch me start screaming.
Yes.
There's that one team.
We're all going to show up one day. We're all going to show up one day with cheering the
strike. Well, remember,
ref.
Every now and then you see an arena where the refs show up and they wear their stripes to the game. That always cracks me up. I've been wanting to do that, but I think it'd be fun to do one of these times just to go out there. I mean, but I'm the only one. Sarah knows this. She can contest when the game starts and the refs come out and everyone else is booing. I'm the only one that's going, yeah, giving them a standing ovation. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Gotta show the love for our team. So. Well, guys, yeah, we did run a little long, but not too bad. But we tend to always run long when the 4 of us start talking hockey. So, we got a lot. The everything starts off on Tuesday, and then basically you got it goes Eastern Conference, Western Conference, Eastern Conference, Western Conference, and basketball's running on pretty much the same schedule. So this is the fun point of time as we get there. You guys got any other last thoughts besides for showing off your Florida champions t-shirt?
Brad Marchand owns the Leafs.
Yeah, he does. It's kind of fun.
CJ
Got
Abrams
anything
for
else?
MVP.
CJ, yeah, he's having a good year for them, isn't he?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Good.
A very good year.
We will start getting some more baseball talk going here too. Now that we're winding down on the hockey side, we'll get some more baseball talk. Well, hopefully you guys that were watching like the new. I tried this using a PowerPoint here. It seemed like it went well. Ben did give a little comment on it here. He said we need to get Matty's production team on the Sunday Rise. So I guess Midnight Rider approves of my PowerPoint doing this instead of the banner. So we'll see what thoughts they give me. So any last thoughts, guys, before we say goodbye?
Sarah, you?
Don't get sick. I'm
Don't
still
get sick.
congested from last week. It sucks.
Too funny. All right, I'll stop sharing that then now. So, all right. Well, then for Sarah and Scott, we'll say goodbye for tonight. Remember, everyone, hug your loved ones, tell them that you love them, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. If you are here, again, we got lots of good shows coming up. The guys will be back tomorrow night for their Tuesday night throwdown or Thursday night throwdown. I always mix them up. You know, they're on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Jack's on Wednesdays, and then of course Sunday mornings too. So with that, everyone, you guys take care. Have a good rest of your night. See ya.